How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the 6:30 weekly trade review. This week, I took no trades. First week that I can remember this year that I've taken zero trades, so total profits of zero, total trades of zero. I'm going to talk about why in a minute here regarding this market, and I'll also maybe talk about one or two trades, a couple of trades that I liked and I saw, but I missed my entry, or some certain trades that I like the breakout and I have an active bid on them right now, which you see over here. So let's get into the market first. So we had a shortened week this week, 4th of July weekend. We also have a half day today. So basically a 3.5 day session this week. Lots of news coming out, economic news, with the unemployment report, with ISM, with JOLTS, ADP. I think the Challenger Gray report also came out. So a lot of that economic data points coming out this week. Market has been in a very strong rally since the 23rd. So if we look at this low of 591, market is 35 points, $35 higher in 2 weeks. So this is a pretty big move. In my opinion, a couple points, it got a little bit extended, and it still looks a little bit extended to me right now. And the way you can tell is that when there's a lot of gap and go days in SPY, right? So gap up and go, gap up and go, gap up and go, flat open grind, and we had a couple of compressions where we hold those gains. We get a couple of these days in a row. That tells you that the trend is very strong. The last time I remember seeing something like this was actually over here. So you'll see, okay, gap up and go, gap up and go, gap up and go, right? And then this was a flat open grinder, and then we started to stall out over here. So we had pretty much a whole 2 weeks of this moving up higher. So I'm expecting some sort of stall or pause this week. We also have the Big Beautiful Bill, which was announced and got passed in the House, so it's going to be signed by the Senate overnight, or the price action after hours did not have any spike, so looks like that news was already priced in. So that was the market. Very bullish in the short term. I am neutral to slightly bullish in the long term. I guess I'd say mildly bullish technically in the long term, because we had this big dip. We did break the new all-time high. I don't think it's likely we're going to revisit these lows this year, and I think there's probably going to be another chance for a dip and for me to reload on some of these positions. Fundamental backdrop, may still be uncertain with the impact of the tariffs coming in or not. We're watching to see if the U.S. looks strong, but the Fed doesn't look like they're going to be in a rush to cut rates soon, because the reports are looking good economically. I think inflation has stayed pretty cool, and the labor market has also not spiked. One thing to keep in mind is that JOLTS was, I think ADP was pretty low. So, there's a bit of a discrepancy this week between the ADP numbers and the unemployment numbers. But again, it's just one data point. I'd like to kind of look at it, or a couple of data points in a trend for the quarter. Are we trending lower? Unless there's some crazy big aberration where we get a big miss or big beat, that'll get my attention. But otherwise, I'm going to kind of look at it, how it's sort of trending over a period of time. Okay, so let's look at this on an M15 basis. And I want to start again with this day. So we get a gap up and go, and we get a pretty nice rally with some volatility on Friday, and we closed kind of right where we opened. So pretty nice, powerful rally. We spend the next 3-ish days, 30th, 1st, and the 2nd, kind of compressing / grinding up higher. So it's hard to tell if this is the end of a move, right? Or if this is the pullback and we're just not getting it in terms of the buying. So we're just kind of grinding up higher. Lots of choppy, compressed action. We had a gap up test, and then kind of flat day, another flat inside day here. Small gap down, and then grind up for the rest of the day, where we poked through this level, this new all-time high. We never quite looked back. We get a positive reaction on the jobs report. We get a gap up and go, and then SPY starts to stall out and test VWAP at the end of the day. So, I mean, I viewed this last move. If you look at this on a channel basis, right, we got a gap up. We're in this bullish channel, and I kind of view this as a buying climax in that channel. So that's why I'm not rushing to take a whole bunch of longs over here. If I was in longs, I'd be taking profits on this gap up and try to, or maybe ride this move up a little high. But since I wasn't in any swing longs, I'm just sort of waiting and watching, maybe looking for a day trade to capture some of this move over here. So speaking of day trades, let's look at one day trade that I missed today, but that I did quite like, which was D-Dog. So D-Dog was added to the S&P 500. Big jump on news, massive volume. So when we start up on the day here, D-Dog, super nice, consistent price action. Very overextended on the D1, but you can trade it on it as a day trade. So your super aggressive entry on D-Dog would be very early in the day on this gap and go. We test the bid. We make a new high the day early. Some organized price action over here at around 49.51. So you can push that up higher, maybe take some gains on the hammer if you want. We get this dip over here, and when we start to recover in this bounce, this is when I'd like to get long, and I've probably been somewhere like 150, 150. So I'd miss this move at 1040. And if you look at SPY at 1040, so this is the setup that I saw here, 1040. And I mean, I really like the 1035 candle a little bit more, so I would have been bidding kind of like over here. All right, so we get this bullish cross that's sort of happening over here. This stock dips, a nice bullish candle. Then we start to, again, eat away at the half point of this candle. So I would get long here. And what I'd probably do is get in maybe 150, 150. I'd get out at 48.50. So that's about a $3 loss on the trade, which means I take 100 shares. And I just kind of ride this move up in the market. So I give it a couple of candles. SPY is inching higher. This stock is just kind of grinding higher. You see how it's very steadily riding that 8 EMA. So it's pushing up higher over here. We get a dip and a pop over here. So I might actually take some gains off here as we see the market starting to kind of stall out a little bit. We get another pop here, 1140. Right, so here's 1140 on the stock, on the market. Here's 1140 on the stock. So pretty nice move. And I'd be slowly scaling out because this is probably vulnerable to sort of one red candle that gets you, gets out somewhere here. Like you get like $1 or $2 out on that candle. So on these gains, I'd probably scale out like a fourth here, maybe another fourth. Yeah, so I'd wait for this dip here. So I'd probably scale out another fourth on this dip over here. And then as it comes back for the retest, I'd take maybe some other gains out, maybe over here around 154. And it looks like we get a little pop at the end of the day. But yeah, so overall you're getting out somewhere averaging around here, which is another $3 move. So you get a nice 1-to-1 on that stock. So that's a nice opportunity I missed, unfortunately. But is what it is. Another trade that I missed was yesterday, and that was USB. So let's look at the price action yesterday. So SPY is sort of just grinding up higher, and it's kind of hard because if you look at this move, it's just like, all right, it's kind of slow. You're just waiting for this dip to VWAP, and that dip never quite comes. And so the whole time, right, because my whole thing is I'm timing up this cycle. So we get this gap down, which is technically like a cycle. We check this level right here, which is about, 616.70. We check that level. We rebound up. We fill in the gap pretty early. So you got to get in early if you want to ride, if you want any prayer of catching this move. So in something like USB, it does pop up pretty early, maybe 1030. Was 1030 over here. Yeah, I mean, you could take that, but we got a nice gap up, compression break, and then ride it up higher. The stock pulls back here, kind of choppy, but then it actually regains some support. And we find a nice entry point here at 150. So if you look at the market at 150, is, pretty much here. It's pretty much compressing, not doing much. But this stock has found support. So I would probably bid lower and get in, maybe like, 47.15, something like that. I'd bet kind of into this candle a little bit. And you're just at this point, you're like, all right, look, if it tests VWAP over here, I'll take the loss. If the market can keep rallying up higher, I'm still good to go. And the market ends up actually pushing up a little bit higher towards the end of the day and breaking out of this compression to the upside. And this stock does take off. So we're seeing it grind up higher. And I'd probably take some gains as we approach the all-time high here, maybe around like 47. I got in 47.15, and I would get out at 46.95, right? So maybe somewhere here would be my stop. So if I can get 20 cents on the trade, that's a nice 1-to-1. So I'm already at 47.35. So I'd take some gains here at 47.35, take some more gains at 47.40. So scale out here, and then we get this nice reddish hammer. So take out another fourth, and I'm just leaving a fourth on right now to ride the position, and I'll scratch that rest out. And then on this double top, I'd probably take out that other fourth, and then close it at 47.43. So that's how I would have traded that. So that was a nice opportunity where on a day where like a lot of stocks, when they're rising up here, I'm waiting for the dip in either the stock or the market. I don't really like chasing stocks that aren't really synced up. So if SPY had a dip like right here, and this stock was flat compressing, then I felt confident about entering on that compression break. In this case, I'm picking a stock that had a strong move up, pull back down, but it's still holding up half of that move, finding some support on a nice compression here, compression break. This is a U-shaped move, so it's really easy to get in these ones versus a sharp V-shaped move that's a little bit faster. So this was another one where, again, I could have made a good 1%. So I had my opportunities. There's two trades really this week where I had my opportunities to get, a good win, but missed them, and is what it is. There's some other nice trades here. I saw that the pros were being pretty nimble for the most part. There's a couple nice swings that people had taken earlier in the week. So this was USB was a pretty nice swing, probably right over here, as it closed above that gap fill at 46.21. And then, you could ride that guy up higher for almost a $2 gain, which is a pretty nice move. You're getting a 2 ATR move on this guy, which is pretty damn good. So let's look at the stocks that I was bidding on. First one is U. So U, on a daily chart, this is not a very great daily chart, right? There's no strong trend. But if you look at the pattern on U, you can see that it's choppy back and forth. And when you get it in the middle of the range, it has a chance to make these nice pops and some continuations. When it breaks down lower in the range, it has some chance to fall through, test the bottom, and then rebound back up. So U has a ton of resistance coming in at around 27.62. You can see there, I think on my other trading view chart, there's a couple of AVWAPs coming into play. There's this long-term high minus trend line. Yep, that is pretty significant. So there's some resistance here in U, but I really like this compression break on the stock, and it posted a lot of nice gains today. Now, on my swings, I am trying to bid a lot better. So I found U, I think somewhere over here, like 25.60, and I'm bidding somewhere around the $25 level right now. So we'll see if that might be a little bit aggressive of a bid. I may have to increase it to maybe like 25.40 or something like that, or 25.50, maybe half of that move. But that gives me about $2 to resistance here at 27.50, and versus support 23.50 is around here-ish. So I have some support. I'm really leaning on $25. Yeah, probably somewhere like here. Probably like, if it breaks below this low, this candle. So let's call it like $21, $21.50 maybe is when I would be. So about $3.50 lower. So I'm getting a decent risk reward on that one. But I got to get that $2 in the first place for it to be pretty worth. So I like you. I'm bidding lower over here. So I just we'll see if I get that, and I'm going to keep that eye on that on the open. If this stock takes up without me and tests this level, then I got to cancel the order. I want to see it kind of pull back like it did here, and then pop up. Next trade I'm bidding for is GDS. This stock, Chinese stock, a little choppy, but you can see it does have some orderly price action in here, even though it is quite gappy. It is in this gap on the D1. This gap, I think, looks like it's around here, technically, is that gap. So around 28-ish. But you can see there's some resistance coming up over here, and there's also probably some resistance on the stock at this high over here, super high volume high. Has room to fill in this gap on this close at 35.58. I'm bidding for it at 32.50, so about half of this candle. You can see that this stock does have some retracements. Sometimes it can just completely go. So we're gonna see if that happens or not. But it does bid. There's some retracement in here. So I'm watching for that, and I'm watching to see if what's it called? I do get that nice fill, and then I have a good call it $3 here. And on the downside, right, my stop would be maybe $4. So getting pretty decent risk reward. All right, last one I am bidding for is, if it loads, IONQ. So this stock is choppy. There's a bit of a ceiling here, but it has been popping up, holding the bid pretty well. And I do have some support that I can lean on this AVWAP-E and this 50 SMA. So I'm bidding for the 37.36 PCS, which would put me kind of right around here. The 7.24 PCS. So I'm trying to bid for that for about 25 cents, which is a little bit more than you need. Typically, you want 20 cents per dollar, but I'm trying to push it a little bit with the 25 cents per dollar and see if I can get that fill. This is a high IV stock, very, very choppy. So either you want to get dips or you want to get out. And if you look at the nature of this move, right, a ton of retracement in this move. So, you probably want to get in closer around here. I kind of missed my entry on this guy over here. But yeah, I mean, like $39-40. If you get at that price, you can probably get it. You probably got a pretty nice bid on this guy over here. You can get maybe the 36.35. I like a little bit better because you have this support over here, this low at $36 acting as support that you can lean on, and that would work pretty well. So we'll see if I get those bid. We'll see what happens tomorrow and next week. But yeah, I mean, there were some opportunities this week. I was playing it pretty cautious, following my new rules, which I will get to in the Q2 trading video, which should be out later today. And I keep telling myself that I would rather regret not being in a trade than regret being in a trade. So, and if I end up being a little bit too overly cautious with taking trades, I can always up that a little bit. But right now, simple thing is, I'm waiting for a market pullback to get into some swing longs. I'm waiting for a day trade pullback to get into some day trade shorts, and we haven't quite had those. So I would have to take a little bit of some different strategies in order to, profit this week. All right. Well, thank you for watching, everyone, and we will see you all in the next video.